Hi, it's time for a ranking video, and followers of my channel will know that I've been slowly going through my favourite albums year by year, and I've still got some way to go. I started in 1967. I was 13 years of age at that time. Of course, I didn't make the video when I was 13, but I thought that would be an appropriate time given the albums that were released. I've now worked my way up, and I'm now at 2009 or 2009, and that is the year I'm going to cover today. Now, it's probably going to be a bit longer than some of the other ones. I've got a little bit more content in there for notable mentions. There's more than 10 really, although there will be 10 who are ranked. So let's get started with those notable mentions. The first one I want to mention is the Empyrean by John Frusciante. Probably didn't get that pronunciation right. He, of course, at this particular time was the lead guitarist with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And in fact, this album, the Empyrean, was his 10th solo album, although I hadn't heard any of the 9 previous. It's a concept album about the highest point in heaven. The effects and instrumentations are a million miles away from the Chili Peppers. It's very much a psychedelic journey. And he got some pretty important contributors to this record: gospel choir, string quartet, and then Johnny Marr stepped in as well, and he dragged his old pepper mate Flea to play the bass. And a couple of tracks for me to highlight. The opener, Before the Beginning, it's 9 minutes of psychedelic rock with mesmerizing guitars. Unreachable, track 3, contrast with that mellow vocal intro. It sets up a bit of an rhythm that's vaguely Chili Peppers, but it evolves into a spacey, gentle piano accompanied by Hendrix's wah-wah guitar that's mighty impressive, and it builds to a crescendo rock beat. Second notable mention is Mpl Sound by Prince. Prince released 3 albums this year, and this one, I love them all, but this one highlights Chocolate Box, which was a great dance tune, and Better With Time is a drooling ballad, and then School Company is very much a lazy funk number with horns back in the mix. So a typically eclectic mix for that little purple guy called Prince. One mention was Journal for Plague Lovers by the Manic Street Preachers. Packs a mighty punch and could be the best so far in their successful career. Just to remind you, Richie Edwards disappeared in February 1995, just months before the release of their critically acclaimed and lacerating third album, The Holy Bible. He was officially pronounced dead in November 2008, and months later the Manics released this album, and it's very much a sequel, an explicit sequel to the Holy Bible, I think. A couple of the tracks to highlight: Moulin JD has a fast pumping drum with frenetic guitar bursts, and a bridge that's an announcement to Soda East. This is heavy, but it's totally synced. Jackie Collins' Existential Question Time. It's a sparkling rock song that sprawls and engulfs in hard rocking style with ripping bursts of guitar again. And then Williams' Last Words, very laid back, a nice acoustic chords, surprise us all. It almost sounds like Lou Reed in places as the strings swoop over the lazy ballad style. Small tasteful bites of guitar as the lush harmonies glow. This is pretty good stuff and was very close to the top 10. Mentions are developing lengthy time explanations as if they're in the 10. Next one, Secret, Profane and Sugarcane. This is Elvis Costello's 20th studio album. It's a bit of an acquired taste, but I listened to it a few times last week and it's really got into my DNA now. The elegant violin and steel guitar on the opener hits at what's to come. Costello recruited Thibaut Burnett to produce, and it's a bit of a stripped down country record. It's recorded in Nashville, where else? And it's much better than Almost Blue that came out in 1981. Tracks to highlight: My All Time Doll, got some crushing powerful vocals from EC, and the instrumentation's almost melancholia with help from violins and a poetically funky mandolin. It's a standout, and there's a double bass outro. And then Sulphur to Sugarcane, a country blues on acoustic with appropriate violin and dobro. It's foot-tapping stuff, and it's thoroughly enchanting, and some strong picking solos bent to perfection. It's a hillbilly shuffle, I think. So, a couple of collaborations with Loretta Lynn's I Felt the Chill Before the Winter Came, and The Crooked Line with Emily Hugh Harris, who actually sings on it. Yeah, there we are. Great album. We'll mention is Wolfgang Amadeus by the French band, the synth pop band Phoenix. Their fourth. A highly listenable band, this, and this album refers to both Mozart and Liszt in formality and flair. 10 songs of virtuoso pop rock precision. They sing about angst, confusion, disappointment and despair. Tracks: Listomania, sounding like a madman with two tiny creatures whispering into each ear. Mars's vocals just grab you and force you to join in with the chaos. And then Countdown with some twinkling piano, booming rhythms. Fences also serenades with that boppy synth vibe. Mars again dragging you through the funhouse. And another, and this one's the last, Television by the Senegalese legend Baba Mal. Danny Thompson is on bass on this album, and the opening track is a 7-minute bubbly electronic piece before it launches into a very laid-back groove. Then we got Funky Tindo. Miles' vocals take centre stage as they swoop and soar around an addictive guitar line. And then there's a song for women, which propels the album right back into traditional Senegalese territory. As a mood piece, it's terrific, creating a haunting atmosphere that builds through the 6-minute running time. There's some harmony vocals from New York-based duo The Brazilian Girls, and this enables Baba to invoke magical spells with his vocal delivery. So, wow, that's the notable mentions. I better get on to the top 10, hadn't I? And now, I actually re-listened to most of these albums, in fact all of them, over the last week, and I did change the top 10 a bit. So I'm putting this in as 10B. Yeah, cheeky, aren't I? It's called Already Free, and it's by the Derek Trucks Band. Making records for 12 years now, this man. He melds rock, blues, jazz, and a little taste of his Eastern Indian modal music. It's very influenced by the Allman Brothers Band, but this man has also frequently turned up on Clapton's albums, and listening to him here you can understand why. There's a standout gospel blues called Sweet Inspiration, written by Spooner Oldham and Dan Penn. It's a classic, and the intro sounds like it's come straight from Memphis. And then Maybe This Time, another great track, a smoochy, funky blues with Dale Bramhall II on vocals. And there's some hot slide guitar by Trucks to boot. The horn-driven day is also eminent on Almost Gone, and an exquisite solo as well. So that's 10B. Now I'm going to do 10, which I guess is probably 10A. This is by the Milanese musician called Sally Kita. Listening to my channel, those of you familiar will know that he crops up fairly frequently in my top 10 lists, and this one just made it into number 10. It's called La Différence. The acoustic instruments are lush and layered with the arrangements, and the singing again, Kita reminds us of the status of albinos in African society and the need to protect the ecosystem, particularly on the River Niger, and this is explored on the track Sakana. There's a pair of past tunes that crop up again, redone, Folon from the mid-60s, and the Les Ambassadors playing Sadar. Nicely remade, those two, but once again the wonderful interwoven vocals with Salif on lead vocal and the female backing singers on harmonies are absolutely enchanting. Get Lucky by Mark Knopfler. I've been following this man's career since the demise of Dire Straits, and on this one you'll hear penny whistles, you'll hear pianos, and they really are this really is a melodic masterpiece with his finger-picked guitar styles on both acoustic and electric shining. And of course Knopfler's storytelling, absolutely tremendous, almost musical character studies, painting a portrait of pastoral and blue-collar life in the British Isles sometime in the past. Knopfler's moved on for sure from Dire Straits, and on Get Lucky he stopped off with a joyful creative set of songs and made a cracking row that overflows with good feeling, great music and highly entertaining tunes. A few tracks to look out for: Clean My Gun, Border Gas and TVs. That starts off with some very Celtic pipes and acoustic guitar. Then he shows his talents with some luscious electric guitar and silky accordion with a whistle for good measure. And then at the end of the set is Piper to the End. It floats out over the speakers in a Celtic wave. It's an absolutely gorgeous collection of songs, and nice at night when it's quiet and peaceful. Great album, Get Lucky, at number 9 by Mark Knopfler. This must be getting too long, this video. At 8, Lotus Flower for You, the second of Prince's offerings, following on from Mpl Sound. This is highly rhythmic. Wall of Berlin shows that, illustrates it very well, and the vocals come off in perfect unison. Beverly Park has a crunching heavy riff and almost Zappa style Spanish guitar. Love Like Jazz is another strong song. It's lounge jazz with some tasty short solos, and the vocals are saucy and playful as ever by Prince. The guitar again 5-star. His Guitar Hero work out on this album is a little bit reminiscent of Jimi Hendrix's acid rock, but he's also mixed that in with Randy Newman's lounge jazz. Absolutely tremendous piece of work. And so to 7, Man Overboard by Ian Hunter. This man's 37 years in as a solo artist, and before that, of course, he was with Mott the Hoople. Hunter has been around the block as a rock star, and 2 years after his highly acclaimed Shrunken Heads, this is right up there alongside it. Just a week to record this impressive follow-up. Hunter's autobiographical work stands out again. The beautiful These Feelings and Wayward Words, another one for his wife Trudy. He ranks her among one of the best love song writers, just shot with that simple honesty. It's a classic Wayward Words from Hunter, who actually turned 70 in 2009. Just listen to Arms and Legs as well. Terrific riff and melody. Hunter is a rock icon. I neglected him, but I don't anymore. get to listen to it. It's at 7. It's called Man Overboard by Ian Hunter. And Let's Change the World with Music by Prefab Sprout. Essentially, really, it's a Paddy McAloon album. There's no Wendy Smith, and his brother isn't there either. McAloon composed and recorded most of this back in '92, but the record label didn't like it. Remastered in 2009, and he's a true original, a gifted singer and songwriter. And he got the nod to call it a Prefab Sprout album, and it very much is a follow-up to the 1992 album, The Jordan the Comeback, an album that I adore. It's a loose concept album based around the religious joy of music for those who live and breathe music, like him and like me. It's dominated by keyboards in various shapes and forms, classical overtones, all created by Paddy in his studio, of course. It sounds fantastic. The production is addictive. A couple of tracks to spot: Last of the Great Romantics, my personal favourite. Sounds like it's been plucked from an old Hollywood studio to promote a blockbusting love story. There's some majestic piano that adorn this McAloon magic. And I love music, funky with spiralling keys and synths. It's a cacophony of enriching pop sounds, complete with horns, and even some harmonica Paddy throws in alongside his vocals, which are enchantingly romantic. Beautiful stuff. Let's Change the World with Music by Prefab Sprout. Well, I'm up to number 5, and I really am going to try and press on. 5 is Song Up in Her Head by a new artist for me. It was in 2009 anyway, Sarah Jaros. And well, what can you make of this 17-year-old? She's a master of the mandolin, and she was involved in this album with Mike Marshall for a track called Mazindorf, where they both played mandolins. Tremendous interplay, very impressive, and pleasantly accessible, and very mature. And another song which I think you need to listen out for, Tell Me True, again with violin to melt to and banjo setting the rhythmic chord used. It's very much a sort of Southern American type singer-songwriter style album with folk country traditions, and I think she's extremely talented. 2-4, and this is the latest album by a man that I've grown to love over the years. His name's Morrissey, and this is Year of Refusal. It's his 9th solo record, and before this album came out, the lead guitar player Alan White, who'd been with him for ages, was replaced by one Jess Tobias. Morrissey himself described the album as his strongest work to date. We've got lyrical dexterity and poetal prowess from a 50-year-old poet laureate, and it's a quality listen and a very readable piece of work. And of course, he's got an extremely tight, proficient rock band who handle his flamboyance with confidence and panache. The music being composed by the guitarists, and there were 3 of them involved in the writing credits here: White, Tobias, previously mentioned, and Boz Burra, who tends to be the predominant one. Tracks: I'm Throwing My Hands Around Paris saunters in as a dream would appear, delicately played by Boz Burra on guitar, with expansive arrangements reflecting a cute love song, metaphorically speaking. You Were Good in Your Time is a tremendously slow ballad with tasteful strings, a huge strength in Morrissey's work these days. And there's an occasional spoken word reflecting the past memory of a significant love affair, albeit possibly a word of French linking up with Paris, possibly. It's a treasure of a song with twinkling piano and restrained lead guitar coming together. Well, altogether another strong set of tunes by Mozart. I could go on, but this video's getting too long. 3 then is Big Whiskey and the Ku Klux King. It's by the Dave Matthews Band. They have been in the music business now 18 years, and this is their 7th album, the first since the death of sax player Leroy Moore, who was known as Ku Klux. It's full of power chords and brass stabs, and that is reflects the opener, Shake Me Like a Monkey. I like Why I Am. It's a tour de force with a pulsating lament of Moore and ripping guitar alongside the brisk horns, and then Lying in the Hands of God. Flute adorns this melodic wave of acoustic guitar and polyrhythmic drumming. It's subtle, and it reminds me in part of some of Sting's material. And then there's Squirm. This has an Eastern exotic power beat coupled with Asian style strings. The Dave Matthews Band again offering an eclectic mix of unusual rock with a Cajun influence as always. This is pretty strong stuff and highly recommended. So to Kingdom of Rust. It's at number 2 and it's by Doves. 4 years since this band made a record, the previous one being Some Cities. They're a Cheshire and Manchester based band, and they don't release material very often. In fact, I think this one is only their 4th album since their opener. Their opener was Lost Souls, and that was back at the turn of the century. It's a marvellous return anyway by the band, a conglomeration of shimmering guitars, spacious keyboards, and a forceful drum-bass combination that's hypnotic. Jetstream opens up, and it's got some wonderful jangly guitars, haunting strings, and a mournful piano hook. All makes for an instant attractive listen. And then I've noted House of Mirrors, which is a pounding song, boasts punk-like vocals, razor-sharp guitar flashes, and sky-scraping chords and a chorus. There are 8 more tracks, so give this a listen. And then once you've finished wallowing in this brilliance, go back to Lost Souls, released in 2000. And then 02, they released Last Broadcast. And then, as I say, Some Cities in 05. All of these albums are 5-star, and they've just released a new one, Universal Hall, back in 2020, which is also worth checking out. A favourite band of mine, and I suggest you get to listen to them. This is Kingdom of Rust, and it's by the Manchester-based band Doves. To number 1 then, you might have worked this one out. My number 1 is No Line on the Horizon by U2. It's their 12th record, 5 years on from How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. U2 releases more an event, really, reflecting the juggernaut that they have become. Much of No Line on the Horizon was written in the Moroccan city of Fez, and there's a considerable North African religious feel to the record. It's a classic grower after you've got over the euphoria of falling in love with the hugely enjoyable Magnificent. This is an arena anthem song. And then Moment of Surrender, the next track, where ancient and modern collide in exquisite, futuristic and secular gospel. I make no apologies for being a big fan of U2, and this is largely based probably because I fell in love with a cute girl in a burger restaurant, being bathed in the debut Boy for the duration of the pickup back in 1980. That was then their debut. Back to this record, its Eastern African influence also pushed it to the #1 slot here for me, and of course the magnificent, which is truly awesome. The rest of the songs are pretty impressionable. The single "Get on Your Boots" I liked, and that clumsy "If I Was Crazy I'd Want to Be Crazy Tonight" is a curio. Right, Bono, we know what you mean. "Unknown Corner" I like. The closing tracks are a little bit forgettable, but who cares after side 1? So that's it, pop pickers, as Alan Freeman would have said. That's my look at 2009. If you got through to the end, well done. There'll be in the description, of course, links to records, to music of all these mentioned. And we're going to hit 2010 soon. Bye.